Southampton. That's the high-rent district, right? A movie producer, somebody Spencer, was shot. Jesus H. Christ, I said. Cy Spencer? You know him? I know about him. My brother's doing some work for him on the movie he's making out here. Hey, is it true he won an Oscar a couple of years ago? Yeah. Listen, it's your day off, but you're the only one who lives way the hell out in the Hamptons, and we just got called in on a mess in Sachem. So could you get over and establish a presence, keep the village police eager beavers from playing cops, sticking everything not nailed down into baggies? You know how they can fuck up a crime scene. Thanks, pal. Well, I felt a certain gratitude towards Cy Spencer. I walked Lynn out to her car and kissed her goodbye. Sorry, but this one sounds like it's going to totally screw up our weekend. She squeezed my hand and said, Come on, I'm an old pro by now. I just feel awful about your brother's boss. What a shock. Then she added, I love you, Steve. I thought this woman is going to be a wonderful wife, a terrific mother. So I said, I love you too. A homicide would be a snap compared to this, which shows how much I knew. The night was as beautiful as the day had been. Cy Spencer's lifeless body sprawled face down on his tiled deck. The pool itself was long, luminous aqua. In the cool night air, a mist hovered over the water. Cy's graceful, sprawling, gray-shingled house, built in the early 20s, rose up 3 stories high behind the pool. If you turned the other way, you saw soft sand and the Atlantic. How's your lovely bride-to-be? Sergeant Ray Carbone asked me. We were standing right near Cy's head. Carbone wore a blue serge suit and Clark Kent glasses. With his small frame, pot belly, and hunched-over back, he looked more like an overtaxed accountant than a disguised Superman. Still beautiful, I said. She's a lot more than beautiful. Rita and I were talking about you two the other day. Lynn gives you just what you need, stability. Stability's the name of the game. Well, for me it has to be. Don't think I was talking about the drinking, Carbone said. As far as I'm concerned, that's history. Look, I know there's no such thing as a recovered alcoholic. You're always recovering for the rest of your life. But, Steve, you were classic emotionally labile. Carbone, who had a master's in forensic science, was going for a second one in psychology. A technician from ID elbowed his way past us, knelt down beside Cy, and slipped bags over the lifeless hands. What did you find inside? I asked Ray. Nothing. No signs of robbery, no violence. The cook was downstairs the whole time. All she heard were the shots, nothing before that. Nothing after? No. She looked out the window, saw Cy, ran out to him, saw he was dead. She called the village police. Okay, I thought, what kind of homicide do we have here? Well, it was easy to figure out that this killer wasn't some impulsive jerk. No, this killer was extremely well organized, bright enough to plan the murder, bring his own weapon, and take it away with him. His getaway had been slick, too, completely uneventful. From the lack of any physical evidence so far, he hadn't gotten rattled. You hear about anybody else getting taken out this way? I asked Carbone. Rich people, movie people, people shot from a distance? I'll check with the FBI, but I don't think so, unless this is number 1. We've got a cool cookie here, I observed. An organized fucker. Good shot, too. Got to give him credit. So what do you think the weapon was? Low-gauge rifle? I asked the ballistics guy who was standing a couple of yards away opening his case. He nodded. Looks like a .22. Damn, Carbone muttered. That's not going to make our life easy. He was right. Here on the South Fork, .22s were a dime a dozen. Everybody had one. What background were you able to get on this Cy guy? Carbone asked me. Well, 53 years old, Dartmouth College graduate, from a rich family, kosher provisions business, but it sounds like he wasn't all that turned on by lunch meats. He wanted culture. He started a big poetry magazine, Shower of Light, about 12 years ago, put a pile of money into it, but then he seemed to have decided that poetry wouldn't get him what he wanted. What was that? Who the hell knows? What do most guys want? Excitement, fame, fortune, superior ass? I mean, who would you rather hit on, a receptionist in a pastrami factory or a poet? Or a movie star? Carbone, the thoughtful, looked like he was actually beginning to contemplate the alternatives. Ray, the answer is movie star with giant boobs. I don't like those big ones, Carbone said. What do you like, a girl who looks like she's got 2 Hershey's Kisses glued on her chest? Anyway, I continued, All along, Cy Spencer was pretty much a man about town, one of those people who pop up now and then in the gossip columns. No dirt, just some guy with major bucks who gave money to the right causes, went to all those jet-setty charity benefits. That seems to be where he met the movie types who have houses out there. And he got it into his head that he wanted to be a movie producer. Apparently, so do half the people in the world, but he got what he wanted. You know, I've heard his name. Good movies, right? No doubt about it. The guy had class. So, Steve, gut reaction? Well, it's going to be a media circus. Plus a major pain because we're dealing with hotshots who expect heavy-duty ass-kissing. And unless we get lucky in the next 72 hours and find someone in Cy's life stroking a warm 22, it's going to be an absolute bitch to crack. Cy was the ultimate fast-track guy. He probably had 14 Rolodexes, and those were just for personal friends. Where would you start? The movie he was producing, I guess. It's called Starry Night. They're shooting it over in East Hampton now. No kidding. Now? East Hampton's only, what, 10, 12 miles away, he was saying? His eyes were lit a starry sparkle. We may have to go over there to question some people on the movie set. Who's starring? Lindsay Keefe and Nicholas Monteleone. No kidding. I always liked him. Reminds me of a young Gary Cooper. And she's a good actress. Suddenly it hit Carbone. Is Lindsay Keefe here? In the house? Upstairs with her agent. You didn't hear her? He's trying to calm her down. Can you believe it? I was in there interviewing the cook. I didn't even know she was here in the same house. The agent brought her back from the set. Heavy-duty hysterics. Carbone's eyes began drawing together in sympathy. Let's not forget she's an actress, I added. Anyway, according to the agent, for the last 6 months, Lindsay's been living with Cy. They're madly in love. Perfect relationship, blah, 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 the usual. Oh, and they were going to get married the minute the movie was finished. You believe the agent? He's not a slimeball. He was the one Cy was on the phone with when he was killed. Claims they were discussing some minor problem about photo approval. Anyway, he said he heard 2 shots over the phone. You buy his story? Carbone asked. I buy that he heard 2 shots. He was upset about Cy and very worried about his client. Could it be normal professional concern? It could be. But we've got to consider if this business is in any way related to Lindsay Keefe, a jealous ex-boyfriend or some jealous ex-girlfriend of Cy's. And we have to find out if things were really that hunky-dory between Cy and Lindsay, Carbone said. Yeah, maybe Cy did something so terrible she felt she had to kill him. You'd never think of a man like Cy as a victim of anything, Carbone mused. He seems like the ultimate winner. I know. Look at all this, I said, glancing around the pool area. Ray, I'll bet your wildest fantasy isn't as good as what Cy actually had. What was missing that any reasonable man could want? Carbone started mulling it over, probably thinking something like a cohesive family unit or self-knowledge. What I was thinking was, why on this splendid summer night was Seymour Ira Spencer, the man who had everything, playing host to a bunch of cops who were swabbing between his toes, tweezing fluff off his bathrobe, and cracking Lindsay Keefe tit jokes over his dead body. Come on, I urged the kid, hoping for an argument. Cy and Lindsay were the perfect couple. Jesus, I wanted life. Believe me, I'd worked on enough homicides to know that the first interviews set the tone for the whole investigation. I paced back and forth. Cy Spencer and Lindsay Keefe, a brilliant show business couple, successful in love, making a great movie. No, Gregory J. Canfield whispered. He had actually uttered a word. That meant he was metabolizing. But it was hard to tell. He was about as animated as the average homicide victim. Gregory was Cy's personal production assistant, hired through some work-study deal with NYU Film School. Poor guy. Not only was his personality bordering on inert, he was a born creep. He was also the world's skinniest human being, so his tight maroon T-shirt that clung to his ribcage and his wide-legged shorts with pleats didn't help. Mr. Spencer and Miss Keefe, they weren't any Irving Thalberg and Norma Shearer. What are you saying, they weren't happy? Maybe Lindsay Keefe told you something else, sir, Gregory J. Canfield mumbled. But I think you know
Maybe they were headed for disaster.
What do you mean? Personal disaster?
Well, a more...